industry. You know that we work in shifts, right? So I kept on telling my head and my brain and myself, I am not a morning person. So whenever I had duty any other time, like in the afternoon, I'm fine. At night, I'm fine. But if the duty is in the morning, I am the most grumpiest person ever. And you know, you're working in the in a customer based industry where you facing the customer and dealing with the customer one-on-one, so you have no time to be cranky, right? So I remember I used to get into trouble so much with the then leaders, supervisors, and leaders on board, and it never used to go well, you know, because first thing is I would go, and if you were working as a team, so I would be there, not speaking, not contributing to whatsoever discussion is happening. I just go, I want to do my job. I will talk to the customers, but I don't want to talk to anyone else until at a certain time. Now, once I progressed and I became a leader myself, I started reading, I started watching videos here and there, and once I stumbled upon a video, a clip by Steve Harvey. And Steve Harvey said, listen, there is nothing like you're not a morning person. It's like he was directly talking to me. He was like, there's nothing like you're not a morning person. Such a thing does not exist. We just feed our brains with what we want to believe, and we stick there, and that's it. And that's what our brain believes, so that's what we believe. And so it's just a cycle. It's a cycle, but it's something that you have trained your brain. So the same way you train your brain to think of such and certain things is the same way you can train your brain as well for positive things as well, like positive skills. So since that time, I knew that I need to control my emotions. I need to control myself. Yes, I have a morning flight or a duty, but I don't want to be cranky. Why? Because my emotions are affecting the people that I'm working with. I came to understand that my emotions are also affecting and impacting on the people that I'm working with, the environment, the atmosphere, and the customers. You know, there's a knock-on effect, right? So today, I want us to talk and have this discussion about emotional intelligence. This is something that I'm big on, and because I know it's a skill and it's something that we can practice and practice and practice and make perfect. A lot of us don't have that because it takes if it's not inborn, then it takes a bit of awareness to be able to train your brain, to be able to train yourself that this is what, to be very intentional that this is what is happening to me and this is how I'm going to deal with it. So recently we are seeing, it's just been 4 weeks since we opened schools physically in Kenya, and we have, I think in the last few weeks, 4 or 5 schools that have been banned. Students have set them on fire for one reason or another. Now, I know it's not something that is new, but if we look at it this way, remember last year, 2020, we all went through the pandemic, and the COVID-19 is still here with us. It hasn't gone anywhere. Now, the crisis for me, I think, is the crisis was not the COVID-19, the virus itself, but it's the impact that it left us with. And the impact is what is making things look the way they're looking. A lot of families are broken up, businesses went down, people, lost family members, lost friends, and now we have this other group, our children, who were at home for about 10 months without going to school, right? Without going to school, and only God knows what has gone into their mind. Some of them went into drugs. Some of them went into becoming criminals. Our teenage girls are now parents, they're now mothers. So there is a lot. There is a lot. And it's only fair if we start discussing these things in our communities, in our houses, in our schools. Like emotional intelligence, for me, it's actually up there higher than the IQ. I know we've grown in an environment where IQ is what is drawn in our minds, that you have to be this, you have to have the A game in your books and all that. You can have the highest IQ, but if you don't have that emotional intelligence to be self-aware, to know how to manage your emotions, then, and to know how to be empathetic to people, how to deal with people, how to deal with people's emotions, how people's emotions affect you, then you cannot be effective in whatever field you are in. You know, studies say that 90% of top performers have a very high EQ compared to IQ. Did you get that? 90% of top performers have high EQ, which is emotional intelligence, compared to IQ, the intelligence, and so this is a discussion that we need to have in our dining rooms, in our boardrooms, in the offices, at our workplaces, at our schools. And especially in schools, this is not to be ignored. I feel that we need to have a subject or a lesson where this is, brought and introduced to our children in school, in the curriculum. And also because of the impact of last year and what is still going on, that schools and institutions can have a safe place where children can come and speak and speak about their emotions and be cancelled, like a safe place where they can just talk. Because then, if you grew up in an era that I grew up, we were not allowed to show our emotions. If you show your emotions, you are likely to get into trouble. You get into trouble for something that you did, and then when you show your emotions, then you get into trouble as well for showing your emotions. And therefore, it's high time, because this is a different generation we are raising, that we encourage speaking, we encourage talking, that we encourage our children to talk about what they are going through. And it's not just about how was your day good, how was your day bad. No, that's not enough. That what do you mean good? How do you feel? Are you frustrated? Did you feel embarrassed at school today? How are you feeling? Are you feeling annoyed? Are you upset? Okay, then we move on from there. Okay, now how do we deal with these emotions? This is a discussion, and it's a serious discussion that we need to have in our institutions and in our homes, in our families. Now, how do you identify if you have an EQ? How do you know? Because you might sit there and ask, okay, Jen, how do I know if I have EQ? If you have EQ, you will realize that you are calm, no matter what the situation. In chaos, when things are happening, you take a step back and think. Okay, so you kind of engage your rational and your emotional part of the brain. Both of them, you will engage them. Whereas somebody who doesn't have that will just engage the rational. For example, I'm having a cup of tea here, right? It's hot. It's hot tea. So if I spill this tea and I stand up screaming and running away, that is a bit of overreacting, right? However, if I'm sitting here and I see whatever animal that you name it, whatever scary animal, whatever it is that you're scared of, let's say an elephant or a rhino, whatever it is, and I run, that is there is a point where you engage your rational, your rational, and the reflex action is you run for your life. But not when, for example, a cup of tea just spills, then no, that you take a step. Okay, it's just tea. Okay, I'll wipe it. It's done. I'll get another cup of tea. No big deal. So that's how you know, because you're able to engage your rational and your emotional, not just, yes, I feel this is what I feel like doing, but I'm also thinking. But if you don't have the EQ, you will say, I feel like just beating somebody. I feel like engaging in a quarrel or causing drama, and that's exactly what you do. You don't step back and think, what are the consequences? What are the consequences? What are the pros and cons of doing this? Yeah. Something else you realize if you have a high EQ is you're able to read situations. You're able to read situations. For example, it's at a workplace. I'll give an example. As a workplace, I see there's a lot of people that you will see, because it's a customer based environment. People will put up a face. They need to smile, they need to be nice, but you're able to read that behind that smile there's something else, and you will be able to probably speak to that person and ask them, hey, are you okay? Is there anything that you want to talk about? Or you're able to see beyond just the face value, the face, that smile. You're able to read emotions and read silent cues. What else? You can successfully manage situations. At my place of work, for example, I will say that we have it, and in any place you'll have either customers complaining, either you have your external customers who come and they'll have issues and they'll complain and they will have this, I want to see the manager, I want to see this. So there's a way that you're able to deal with the situation, despite if they're rude or whatever it is. Even if they're rude to you, you're able to stand back and say, okay, you speak to yourself and breathe and say, okay, this is just a situation, he is upset. So you're considering as well the emotions. You're not allowing that person's emotions to get into you. So you're able to manage the situation, right? So for example, I know if I go to work very early in the morning, now that I'm okay to wake up and go to work in the morning and not be cranky, but I know that I need to get my cup of coffee. I know I need coffee before I engage, and that's what exactly I'll do. I'll go to work, I sign in, but I'll get some coffee before I actually start my actual work, because I know that's how now I start functioning. So you're able to understand, you're self-aware about your emotions, you're self-aware about, okay, this is how I feel, how do I deal with it? How do I now regulate it? Okay, what else? You're able to understand and to listen to people. You're very calm. You want to listen to people. You're understanding, like you put yourself in people's shoes. You're empathetic. That's another way you know that you have a high EQ. What else? There's so many things. So and also obviously how you deal with situations. As I said, I've seen a lot of, for example, my colleagues and even people around me sometimes masking. And you'll see someone is very happy-go-lucky, but if you're not able to just read behind that person's emotions, you will not know. And these are things that we also need to learn, to check with our children, to check with our partners, to check with our friends. I saw you the other day, but I felt like there's something that is not okay. Are you okay? Are you going through something? Is it something that you want to talk about? And then that way you feel like someone is either going to open up, or they will say, oh no, it wasn't something, I was just not feeling well. But at least you're able to read that. Yeah. So, and if you have children at home, you're a teacher, or you're dealing with kids, let's understand that as we were busy last year trying to figure out life, trying to figure out what's happening with this pandemic, is it going away, or is it, what's happening? I need to open back my business, I need to go back to work, I need to put food on the table, and all these things were happening to us grown-ups. Let's also remember that also the children, the young adults around us were also going through stuff. All right, so let's learn how to, or let's cultivate a culture where we are able to have these conversations, speak to them, speak to our young ones, speak to our young adults as well, and find out what's happening, what's going on with them. A lot of them have been wounded, but they cannot speak, they cannot talk because of either the shame, or they know they are not going to be believed when they say what has happened to them. Let's teach our children how to be empathetic from a young age, from an early age, and you can tell, for example, if the kids are playing outside, and one of the friends fall down, some will be not bothered, one will probably just run, or two, they'll say, oh, are you okay, I'm so sorry, is it painful? That already is a sign that this child has an inborn EQ already. That's empathy, being empathetic, that's empathy. And as we also, as grown-ups in our place of work, even as in our relationships or in our homes, let's always remember, before you react, because there's some people who will just be, nasikia tu kufanya hivyo, nasikia tu, in fact vile nasikia sahi, nasikia tu nisome mtu. Why? What is it going to do to you? Always think about you. Always think about you. No, you. How am I feeling right now? I'm so upset because somebody ABCD did this to me. Okay, fine, you're upset. So you've understood that. That is your trigger because he said this, or she said this. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? So if never confront an issue at that moment, moment where it's hot, never confront it. Take time, pull back, think about it. Okay? And now choose what to do. Yeah, you already know that's a trigger. So it's either you avoid that person always, or it's either you avoid them, or you choose to keep quiet when they start being argumentative, or look for another option. Okay, look for another option. For example, I'll say this. Sometimes you're tired and you come back home and you know that, like for me personally, if I am tired because I do work in shifts and I'm exhausted, I get home and the kids, for example, are up and running, and I have a 4-year-old who is very, very active. I know I'm going to get pissed off at some point. I know I'm going to get, I'll lose my patience with him. So instead of losing that patience with him, because I know already that the trigger is that I'm tired and he wants to be playful, he wants to be naughty, all that. So what will I do? It's either he goes to bed, I ensure if it's at night he goes to bed early, or I retreat. To say, I'm very tired, good night, I'm going to sleep. And I go to a peaceful, quiet place, because I know that if I stay there, we're going to be at loggerheads. So what do? You retreat. That's understanding yourself. You've understood this is my trigger. So what I need to do is I need to either isolate the other party or isolate myself. Okay. Yeah, so, and being intentional in whatever you do. For example, if I live in a place called Sharjah. I work in Dubai. There's always traffic. If you tell someone that you live in Sharjah, they'll be like, wow, how do you maneuver that traffic? I don't know what. The traffic is too much. It's like almost 1.5 hours. No. Because you know you're gonna be so pissed off with that traffic. Either you have a road rage, you don't like people, you know that there's some things that just upset you. What do? You know, I'm gonna wake up 1 hour earlier. I'll just go straight. It'll take me 15 minutes and I'm there. And I'll look for a place to park and I sit, read a book or meditate or do whatever. But at least you're not stuck in that traffic. You have that option because you have a choice. You have an option of waking up early and being on the other side early, or then getting stuck in traffic and getting pissed off. So you've identified the traffic is your trigger and you know what to do about it. That is emotional intelligence. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very huge topic. It's something I'm also learning about because I'm very, very passionate, so passionate about EQ. And it's something that I would love to see our generations, and especially our young generations, growing up with, and our older generations learning the skill to be emotional intelligent so that we can have a peaceful place to live, right? We all deserve a peaceful place to live. Guys, it's actually 3 a.m. sharp, right? And I don't know, my brain works better at night when it's quiet. That's when I can think, that's when I can write, that's when I can create. And I just want to say this, we are all walking with battles that we are fighting. We all have battles that we are fighting, and sometimes it's not easy to keep calm, but let's practice emotional intelligence. Let's remember, if you're self-aware of the emotions, then you're able to take care of them. Also, let's remember that if you're bleeding and you don't take time to heal, you'll always be bleeding on other people. We are seeing all these people walking out there very bitter. You can see on the social media, people just have a lot of bile and are just looking for a place to just release that bile. You know, people are bitter, because it's life. We're all going through one thing or another, but at the same time, let's cultivate a culture where we can be able to have that self-awareness. It takes time, it takes skill, but it is possible, it's doable. Speak to someone if you're not well. Meditate, listen to music, read a book, pray, whatever makes you calm down. One step at a time, and we can all do it. Stay blessed, take care. Good night, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. And thank you once again for continuing to watch Tea Time with Jay. We're all growing together. I cannot take you guys for granted. I am blessed to have you as we grow together, as we continue learning together. Bye-bye. Take care.